right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode 2 of The Branch Report. This is a podcast discussion designed to keep you informed on all things Flowery Branch High School athletics. I'm your host, Ethan Banks, and we're podcasting once again from the beautiful dining room of Stonebridge Village, Chick-fil-A, right here in Flowery Branch. The Frank and Tyler Harney Chick-fil-A family has been keeping our Falcons fed and fueled for the game time for over 23 years, and we thank them so much. Give some love out to the Stonebridge Village, Chick-fil-A. All right, so our special guests today lead the soccer programs at Flowery Branch High School, Ladies Falcons head coach Ashley Lewis, and the men's soccer head coach Derek Rials. So we'll jump right into it, Coach Lewis. Tell me a little bit about your journey getting into teaching and coaching, and soccer is such a wonderful sport, such a dynamic sport. I'd love to hear how you got into it.
So grew up playing soccer. Really going into college, I never really knew what I wanted to major in, what I wanted to do. But then I started thinking about my life after sports and wasn't really a fan of it. So I decided to major in health and PE. So I majored in that. That's my degree. Currently as a female PE teacher, that's a hard job to come across. But I was fortunate to come here to Flowery Branch and get into our special ed department. I'm currently now our CTI coordinator, so working with special ed and our CTAE department. And now coaching girls soccer as well, so enjoying it.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. The CTE, I mean, as you talk about the Career Tech Education Program at Flowery Branch, such a dynamic program as well. I mean, you get kids involved in work-based learning. You get students involved in doing all kinds of vocations, learning trades, which is so important right now with today's economy. And so we're so glad you're there. I know you're doing a great job in that, and we're going to flesh out some soccer talk tonight too. But Coach Riles, how about your journey, sir?
Yeah, well, I played football at Wheeler High School in Marietta, and when I was in high school, like a lot of people who become coaches, I had some coaches that were influential on me and influenced me to become a coach. And so when I was in high school, I made that decision that that's what I was going to do. And so I went to the University of Alabama and really prepared myself to try to be a football coach. So I spent 4 years while I was in school working with the football team. And then when I graduated from college, I was able to work for one of those coaches. His name was Jeff Hollis. He was my head coach at Wheeler. And so I worked for him. And when I got my first job at Northgate High School in Coweta County, back then when you went into teaching and coaching, it was expected that you coach 2 sports. And even though I was a football guy, my athletic director said to me, well, you're going to be the JV boys soccer coach. And so I started coaching soccer there at Northgate, and I was coaching football as well. And so I coached football at Northgate. And then I got the chance to work for my other coach that influenced me is a guy named Dave Shoemake. He was one of our offensive coaches when I was in high school. And while I was going to college, he became the principal at Gainesville High School. And so I came up here and worked at Gainesville for a little while, coaching football and coaching soccer. And kind of everywhere I've went, that stayed with me, even though I originally got in to coach football. And so I moved from there and went to Starr's Mill High School, where I coached both again. I made a trip back to Gainesville, and when I left Gainesville, I decided to kind of, football wasn't, really, that phase of life was not something I wanted to do anymore. And when I was moving from Gainesville to Flowery Branch, the head coach at Flowery Branch, the head boys soccer coach, was a guy named Sean Garnett, who I'd worked with Sean at Gainesville. I was his JV boys soccer coach, and so I came here and started coaching soccer.
So in our first episode of the Branch Report, we got a chance to sit down with our new head football coach here, Michael Perry. There's a connection there too, right?
Yeah, so I coached at Gainesville 2 separate times. I was there 2003, 4, and 5. My last year at Gainesville in 2005, I became the quarterback's coach. I was replacing a Gainesville legend, Chris Carpenter. Chris had decided not to coach football that year, and So I told Coach Miller, Bruce Miller, who I know Michael mentioned in his interview, Hall of Fame coach at Gainesville, and that I was interested in being the quarterback coach. And so I coached quarterbacks in 2005, and had a guy named Jeffrey Green was my quarterback, and Jeffrey set a single season passing record that has been passed many times over now, but at the time it was the record. But I left after 2005, and it was a couple years later. Michael got to Gainesville, and he took over coaching quarterbacks, and he was the offensive coordinator. Well, then when he left, he decided to leave Gainesville to go to Coffee County. I was down at Starr's Mill, and I had a good friend at Gainesville named Dave McConnell. And all the years I was gone from Gainesville, he would always text me, "Hey, we got an opening. Are you interested? Do you want to come back?" And my wife's from the south side of Atlanta down in Coweta, and we were happy down there, and I'd always tell him no. But I was at Starr's Mill, and I got a text message, and it was from Mac, and, "Hey, we got an opening. Are you interested?" And I responded, "For what?" And in the meantime, I was texting my wife because I used to kid her, "Hey, you want to go back to Gainesville?" Because I knew, she was happy down there and all. And while I was texting with her, Mac responded, "Quarterback's an offensive coordinator." So that changed everything when I found out I was coordinator. So I ended up interviewing at Gainesville. I went back. I knew Coach Miller already. So it was just seeing what his vision for me was. But I also interviewed with their principal, Tom Smith. And I remember the day I drove from Coweta to Gainesville to go interview. You worry about traffic through town, and so I was a little bit early. I stopped at this Chick-fil-A, I remember that morning, and then I went up and interviewed, and of course I ended up taking the position. So Michael had just left, and I was his replacement as quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, but his twin brother Tyler was still at Gainesville. He wasn't coaching, and so I worked with Tyler for a year. And one of the things that impressed me about Tyler was, I think it was pre-planning. He was down, his classroom was down the hall. He came down, and I can't remember if I initiated talking or he did, but I remember him talking to me, and there was two things that stood out to me about that conversation. Number one, this guy loves football. This guy loves football. I knew he wasn't going to be out of coaching long. The other thing that stood out to me is I didn't detect 1 ounce of, I'm replacing his brother, and I did not detect 1 ounce of he was rooting against me or didn't want me to be successful. Not at all, and that impressed me about Tyler. And so I know Michael a little bit. I know Tyler even better. I worked with their mom, Helen, and then my favorite pair is the little brother, Lewis, because he was a player the first time I was at Gainesville. And then the second time I was at Gainesville, he coached with us, and he was my assistant lacrosse coach. And so I tell people I've never met a Perry I don't like.
Yeah. I was going to say, so the beautiful thing about high school sports, high school athletics in general, any sport, is really the opportunity to glean from other coaches. You mentioned some great programs in Wheeler and in Starr's Mill, certainly in Gainesville and now Flowery Branch. You've had a chance to surround yourself with some wonderful coaches, some coaches that can pour into you. How have you developed your philosophy of coaching, and what would that philosophy be, I guess, if I were to ask you in a few words?
Well, I think the main thing is you have to be you. You have to be genuine. Because, like you said, I've worked with some really good coaches, I feel like, at all the stops I've been to. And you're right, you take away things, but at the same time, you understand you're not that person. That is not your personality. But I think the main thing that what I try to do, and I think it's what most great coaches do, is put the player first. What you're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do, is create the best experience I can for the kid who's participating on that team or in that sport.
Yeah. And so, Coach Lewis, as well, for you, your experience as a player, as a high school athlete, how has that kind of created this desire to pour into other students now? I mean, how does that play into how you take that role on as a coach now?
So when you ask a kid why they play soccer, it's the first answer is it's fun, right? So you want to keep it fun, but you also, part of it being fun is winning. So a lot of it for me is just, can you give me your best effort every day? Can you be consistent, and can you be a reliable teammate for your other teammates?
Yeah.
So I think the teams that I've been on that have had, players that I can rely on, that are going to give their best effort every single day, those are the most fun teams to be on.
Yeah.
So
what are you looking for in the locker room for leaders? Those times when coaches can't be there, you've got those students, that student or students in the locker room that can be that leader for you. What are you looking for?
And we just went through our captain process last week. So I asked the girls, who do you feel like best communicates with, each other as teammates and with the coaches?
Yeah.
Who do you feel like best leads by example on the field? And who do you feel like best leads vocally?
Yeah.
So I think all three of those kind of tie into a good leader. A couple years ago we had Sarah Greiner, who is now, she was at Tennessee, now transferred to Miami, but she was obviously a very important player to us on the field. But until she left, I don't think I realized how important of a leader she was for us. And this year we've got our three captains. We don't have any seniors this year.
Okay.
So young team, but we've got some girls that have been around Sarah and kind of know what it's supposed to look like. And so we have Bailey Kirby, Hallie Catcher, and Katie Wilsey are our captains this year. They've done a great job so far this year. They were great last year. And with our young team with no seniors, I think they're leading us in the right direction.
So you say, kids say soccer's fun. That's why they get into it. But soccer can be a grueling game as well. Mm-hmm. It's a game that never stops. It's a game where you can't take a play off. And so you've got 11 players out there on the field working their various positions. What do you say to your team during a break, during a halftime, when things aren't going quite as well? What are you as coach, and then what are you expecting from your three captains to say to the team to bring them up in the locker room?
The biggest thing is just do the little things right. Can you pass the ball to feet? Can you pass the ball to feet when you're tired? Can you communicate? There are things that one player might be able to see that the other player can't. Can you communicate that they have a man on them? Yeah. Can you just do the little things right? And it just makes the game go a lot easier for everybody. Yeah. And as far as our captains, I think for them it's just continuing to encourage each other and, being demanding when they need to be, but also encouraging.
Yeah. So, Coach Rials, both of our men's and ladies teams played White County. Both came down to PKs, two different results from the two different teams. But how do you keep your team motivated through that situation where you've got regulation as, you're at time now, and now you've got to come down to a non-region game and go right into PKs. How do you motivate that team to stay the course and finish the drill, so to speak?
Well, we talked about it after the game. Billy Johnson, who I coach with, and we had a team conversation, and to be completely honest, we weren't pleased with the performance. And the thing I mentioned to the team is that a lot of times you learn the most from a loss. But, if you can get the result, but you also understand that it wasn't where you needed to be, and you can transfer that into the practices that are coming. That's ideal because you got the result, but you also are motivated to be better, and hopefully that's where we are right now because the performance wasn't exactly where we wanted it to be.
It's early in the season, though.
Yeah, it is.
So as far as character development, high school sports, so much about what high school sports is about is building character in students, preparing them for the world outside of high school, for a world after sports, because many of our players will hang up the boots and not play again. And so how do you prepare them for the world out there, whether it be college, career, whatever aspirations they have? How do you prepare that student through character ed and through some of the other things that you do as a team to get them ready for that?
Well, I think there's so many. coaches talk about it all the time, but there's so many things that transfer from sports into life in terms, and of course one of the most obvious ones is dealing with adversity and being able to handle adversity. But the other thing, of course, is being part of a team and being able to work well with others. And, one of the main principles that I believe in, going back to one of your previous questions, is be a good teammate. Because if you're a good teammate, that entails a lot of different things. If you're a good teammate, you don't depend on someone else to work harder than you. If you're a good teammate, you do all the things you're supposed to do and don't expect others to do it when you're not. But I think both of those things transfer into, life after soccer.
Yeah. Coach Lewis, same question.
Yeah, kind of just following off of him. Can you show up on time? Can you do what you're supposed to do? Can you work hard? Going back to being a reliable teammate, if we can't rely on you to just show up on time, which is something that's so simple. You get out of class at 3:35, we hit the field, start warming up at 4. If you can't be there at 4, how can I trust you on the field to make that extra effort to try and save a ball? And that, leads to life after off the field as well. Can you show up to work on time? Your coworkers are relying on you. Here, it might be extra sprints after, high school, after college, whatever it is. You're either off the team, you might get fired, stuff like that. So just doing the little things right is just important to me.
So I can tell you that a lot of your teams are here tonight enjoying dinner here at the beautiful Stonebridge Village Chick-fil-A, and so none of them were late to that. So we appreciate Stonebridge Village Chick-fil-A feeding the Falcons and keeping them fueled for their games for over 23 years here. Frank and Tyler Harney are a great partner with us. But let me ask you this question. This one may be hard because they're right here in front of you. How would your players describe you? Whoever wants that one first. That's a tough one.
Old? I don't know. No, I mean, I don't know. I hope they feel like I'm, someone they can count on, someone they can trust what I'm saying to them, that I hope they feel that I have their best interests at heart. So that's what I hope they think.
I'm getting some nods in the room. I think they feel that way. How about you, Coach Lewis? How would your teammates describe you?
Fun or supportive. I don't know. I mean, we try and do something every day at practice that's, fun. Whether it's a warm-up or just something to end the practice, we try and do something fun just to, like I said earlier, just keep it fun for them. And then obviously just supporting them, whether it's at soccer, just life questions or school stuff, and anything they need. I just hope they know.
So you've started a program this year. You've involved the faculty at
Sure
Flowery
did.
Branch. So tell us a little bit about that one.
So
that is fun.
I can't take full credit for it. Jason Guzzardo at Jackson County, he's their head boys coach. He gave me the idea. He does it with his boys. But it's our Adopt a Player program. So after we made the team, I sent our roster out to the Flowery Branch staff, and they had the opportunity to adopt a player. So to adopt a player, the teacher would get a free T-shirt, and they will be recognized at our Teacher Appreciation Night. But their job as the adopted teacher is to just give their adopted player an encouraging note on game day and a small little goodie. So if it's a Powerade, if it's a bag of chips, just something small to, support the girls. I know soccer season isn't always the easiest to come out to the games and support, because I think last year half of our games it was 30 degrees and pouring rain. So it kind of allows the teachers and the staff at Flowery Branch to be invested in our program and involved without having to attend every single game.
Yeah. And as a teacher myself, I get to hear some of the other teachers talk about how they get to bond with their player and what it means from a teacher's standpoint to be a part of that program. So I know it's doing a great job.
We had a lot of teachers that were interested in it, and a lot of teachers that I got some emails from that were mad they didn't make it to the spreadsheet in time. So I think next year we're going to expand the program and do 2 teachers per player, have 1 teacher take care of home games, 1 teacher take care of away games, and just build the program.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So let's talk coaching staffs real quick, and then we're going to jump right into the season outlook for you. How do you assemble your coaching staffs? What's your philosophy there? Are you looking for someone to kind of fill in gaps if there are any on your staff, or are you just looking for someone who's going to relate to your players, or a combination of both, of course?
For me, a combination of both. When I came in my first year, I was the assistant coach for the head coach at the time, Todd Henry. It was his first year with the program as well. And then Dallas Davidson, who's my assistant coach, he was also one of the assistants. So when Todd left, I took the head coaching position, and Dallas was great with the girls, and we communicate well. So brought him on as my assistant coach, kept moving forward. I'm more attacking minded, he's more defensive minded, so it works out. And then this year we brought on Erin Conley, who she's new to Flowery Branch. She's previously from Mountain View High School, which is where I went to high school, but she wasn't there when I was. So she is helping out with our goalkeepers this year, and with field players as well. But she's been great. Has built good relationships with the girls. So I haven't had too many assistant coaches to look for, but I have a great staff so far.
That's awesome. Coach Rials, how about your staff, sir?
Well, all three of our varsity coaches, myself, Billy Johnson, and Oscar Rosas, we all worked with Sean Garnett when he was here.
Okay.
And so it was just kind of natural, since we all worked well together, for us to keep working together. Now we've added Mike Martin, who does girls basketball. He coaches our JV boys. And then we've even added one of our former players, Jaden Kajansky. He helps Coach Mavis at the middle school, because we were trying to create more continuity between what we're doing at the middle school at Davis and what we're doing at the high school. And because Jaden played for us, he could help us do that. And Coach Mavis has been great, and he was open to the idea. In fact, he kind of, in a way, initiated the conversations, but I think it's really helped. So we added Jaden to the Davis Middle School, and that way we're doing similar things at Davis and doing, at Flowery Branch as well.
Building a program like that's more than just a 9-12 program is very important for soccer as well as other sports. You have your middle school feeder programs, but you also have the rec leagues that are happening and what they're doing there to get students involved. Soccer has really exploded over the last, since I played 30 years ago. Soccer's really exploded in this area. And so you have a lot of great programs, a lot of rec programs that can build the skills that the kids need to play at a level that Flowery Branch is playing in right now. So let's talk strategies as far as what you're looking at for the season. Coach Lewis, you said you were kind of an attack-minded.
I am.
And so what does that mean for us? You're working with strikers. You're working with midfield, I'm guessing. What's your philosophy there?
Play quick.
Yeah.
I think once you get towards that end of the field and the final third, sometimes you tend to overthink. You take that extra touch, and then there's a defender in your face, So just for us, comparing last year to this year, just getting more shots off. We really struggled to score last year, but we have a lot of good players coming back that have gotten better and have gotten better at playing together. So.
Sounds great. And of course, you've got Coach Davidson as well, who likes the defense. That helps out to have somebody like that on your staff.
He's been great. Last year we had, I think all 4 on our back line from last year are now gone. So we have a whole new back line this year, and our scrimmage against East Hall was a mess. But White County, they were fantastic. Yeah. They were fantastic. We were watching film last week, and there were clips we had where I was like, against East Hall last week, that would have been a foot race, or that would have led to something else, and they learn from their mistakes. Yeah. And so I'm really happy with what I've seen from them so far, and Dallas has done a great job. Yeah. So
it's great to have those. Coach Riles, about your sort of your philosophy on the game and the X's and the O's.
Yeah, well, what we do is we play 5 in the back, which not a lot of people do. Okay. And, the way we kind of play when we are attacking, it's kind of a 5-3-2, and then when we're defending, it's a 5-4-1. But it sounds defensive, we're defense-oriented, but our outside backs are really getting up on the attack, and they have to kind of play both ends. So it's not as defensive as it sounds, but that's what Coach Johnson has kind of settled on in terms of tactics, and I feel like it works good for our skill set.
Yeah, you almost have to adjust each and every year based on who you have on the field. I mean, if you're a fast team one year and you've got that speed, then you're going to play that way. And other times, if you've got to play with endurance and just play all 80 and get it done, sometimes you have to do that. So, standouts, what are you looking at for this year? You got any games circled on the calendar already? You got, as far as an outlook goes, what are you looking like in the region?
I mean, we have a couple new teams in the region this year, so we're looking forward to playing them. For me, I would say probably Eastside. Last year they were our last region game. If we won that game, we would have been in the playoffs. And at that time of year, I think half of our team probably had the flu, and the others were injured. So we, I think, only had maybe 12 kids that were able to dress for that game just because of injuries and illnesses. And we were in that game for 65 minutes, and then obviously with 12 players just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that game this year. I think our girls are too, because we had our opportunity to win it last year and make the playoffs. So it means a little more this year.
Sure, of course it does. Coach Rials.
Same answer.
Yeah.
Similar situation. Our last region game last year was Eastside. If we won, we were going to be in the playoffs. If we lost, we weren't. And we lost that game 1-0 in overtime. They scored, of the two overtime periods, they scored it in the last seconds of the first one and kind of kept us out of the playoffs. So if I had to circle one, I would say that one.
So as you look forward to this season, I'm going to give you an opportunity with this question to challenge your students right here. I want you to describe for us what makes an excellent soccer player.
Well, skill. I mean, it's a very skilled game. There's no doubt about that. Understanding the game, because so much of soccer is anticipating. If you wait till the ball's at your feet, you're too late, to decide. You're too late. But beyond those things, what I would like us to be is, number one, I'd like us to be tough, right? We can handle adversity. We can handle difficult situations. We can play through, being tired. We can overcome deficits. I'd want us to be tough. And the other thing I'd want us to be is unselfish.
Coach Lewis?
Same stuff there. Might add in mentality a little bit. When there's 5 minutes left and you're tied, you're trying to get that extra goal. Are you going to make that extra effort to win that ball? Or if you're down and you need to, save a goal, are you going to work to get goal side? If you're 10 yards behind them, are you going to work to get goal side of that player to win the ball? Are you going to go up in the air? Are you going to head it? Are you going to duck? So just the mentality of it. 80 minutes is a long time, especially in soccer. It's, quick burst of speed and then, whatever. So just mentality.
I was going to say the ebbs and flows of the game make you as a player have to dig deep and find that second wind. Mm-hmm. And you got to do it so many times in that 80-minute period. So as we wrap up today, thinking about the season going forward, thinking about the programs that you're building here at Flowery Branch High School, thinking about all the wonderful things that you've got going on, what inspires you when you see, what type of play on the field inspires you as a coach to just keep going and dig deep as well? Because, you as a coach, it can be pretty tough as well to find that inspiration and to find that motivation in games. So what inspires you and what are you looking for in your players?
When they're having fun, I'm having fun. And if they're giving me their best effort, that's all you can ask for. I told them at tryouts, you're going to screw up, you're going to make mistakes. Don't let that mistake lead to 10 others. So just having a short memory, playing hard for each other, as long as they're playing hard, and giving me their best, then that's going to keep me going.
Coach Riles, final thoughts about inspiration, that you're looking for from players?
Well, what inspires me is something I just said. Teams who are tough-minded, teams who play physical, teams who have personality. I mean, when you think about it, the players that inspire you, they all have those things, right? I mean, Ronaldo has personality. He has toughness, right? And to see it as a collective group is even more impressive. And that's what I really hope that, we talked about last year before the season started, what kind of team do we want to be? And what we said was we wanted to be a team that nobody else wanted to play. Well, I think, we've had some conversations. We didn't do that last year. And I hope we do that this year. And that's my challenge to these guys is to be that team that we meant to be last year, which is be a team that no one else wants to play because of the mentality that we play with, the toughness we play with.
Yeah. Is there anything I have not asked you that you want your players, your families, your community to know? How do you best communicate with families and community? Do you use Remind? Are there places that your families need to connect with you as a coach and to know what's going on?
I send a weekly email out to our parents, but just for faster, messages, just practice is canceled. I have GroupMe for the girls.
Okay.
But for parents, emails, and then they have my phone number as well if they need to reach me quickly.
Yeah. Coach Rials?
Yeah, GroupMe's the way we usually do it. Is our fastest way of communicating. Other than that, it's the occasional meeting in person.
I was going to say, because weather with soccer, I mean, it'll be 95 degrees at the end of the season, but right now it may be 20 this week. And so speaking of this week, we've got North Hall coming to the Branch on Thursday night. Kickoffs at 5:30 for the ladies and 7:30 for the men. So let's make sure that we get everybody out there, make sure that we publicize that, and have a big home crowd for this first home game of the year. It's going to be very exciting. I wish you the best of luck for your seasons. Can't wait to see how they pan out. And I know with two great leaders here at the helm that we're in great shape here at the Branch. All right, so that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you once again to our special guests, head soccer coaches Ashley Lewis and Derek Rials. We thank our business partner and host, Frank and Tyler Harney and the Stonebridge Village Chick-fil-A. We thank you for our producer, Wesley Walton, our director, Christy Carter, for all of us here at the Branch Report. Thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, go Falcons.